This is Rotten Glory. I'm your host, Ty Gorton. Coming to you neat today. Inexplicably, my lady threw away the ice I've been using for my whiskey. I guess, to be fair, it had kind of fused into this massive chunk of, of ice. It's been in there a while. But I've been breaking off pieces. Typical man fashion. I just barbarically break off a piece and drop it in my glass. Today I opened the freezer and just stared into the abyss for a while and until I accepted it was gone. So cheers. Cheers and eat. Today I want to talk about the tragic failure of Disney when it comes to the Star Wars film franchise. And I say tragic because there are good ideas. There are good ideas there that could have catapulted Star Wars. It could have just prolonged this phenomenon that is Star Wars into the future. Unfortunately, Disney seems completely incapable of executing on anything Star Wars related. Maybe The Mandalorian. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that here. I'm just focusing on the film franchise right now. And it's like, this corporation, this corporate soulless entity cannot do shit with Star Wars. They can't do it right. So let's jump right into it here. Finn. The Finn story as a stormtrooper that breaks away, that wakes up from his intensive training and realizes that he doesn't want to be a part of this. What a phenomenal concept. This is a film unto itself. This should be a film telling this story. It is so good. There is so much involved with this. It means that you have to have a way to deal with the possibility that it even exists in the first place. It is actually, it could be an incredibly positive addition to Star Wars canon and add an intense human level depth to that entire idea of being a stormtrooper. It was right there in front of them. But no. What is Finn becomes comedy relief, slapstick. What are you doing, Disney? Why? You had greatness right at your fingertips with this story. It is the pinnacle of a great idea, burned to the ground, completely neutered. So good. It should have been epic. It should have been powerful. And it should have added to Star Wars. Instead, it's another zero. It's another nothing. Rey. Here we are again. Rey as a concept, as an idea. You've got this character orphaned from an incredibly young age, left alone to survive. Beautiful. Why aren't you showing me this story? Why you're just gonna blow it off in a like, oh, this is what it is. You're gonna give me a little flashback, and then show this full-grown woman. No, this is a story that needed to be told, and it was a good story. This is the kind of thing that could have propelled Disney Star Wars to legendary. It could have continued the phenomenon. But no, what do we get? We get something that doesn't match human experience. It doesn't match reality, because Rey is this eternally positive, bubbly, happy person. What is that? If you're abandoned as a child and you have to you have to survive in a cruel reality on your own and learn, she's taught herself all these great ideas of her having to learn how to scavenge and fight for her own survival on this planet. It's like, why is she so positive? Why is she so happy all the time? Why does she lack any real context of being a human being? Who writes this? Who directs this kind of garbage? Are they not human? Did they not live lives? Do they not know what that is? What it would be like to be orphaned? To have nothing? To have to survive isolated and alone? This character could have had so much depth. It could have been so rich. Just failed completely. And it's at its base level, at the foundational level, it's a great idea. Different than Luke. Luke had a family. Luke had a loving family. He had a place. But he wanted something else. Rey was it. This is something different, and it could have been so good. But once again, you get little fucking blips of something. Of her past, and like, it's just a huge missed opportunity. Luke and Rey. Oh man, I can't even tell you. The opportunity here to have the Luke Skywalker become the person training the next Jedi that could potentially change the course of history. Him becoming the Yoda figure to what he was. But even more, it's even more dynamic, because Rey would be even more complicated. Rey would be so closed, so defensive as an orphan, as someone who was abandoned. He would have to break through that incredibly thick exterior to open her up to... The training of Rey could have been one of the most epic things we have ever seen in film. And it could have added so much to the Star Wars lore and legacy. And they I mean, Rian Johnson failed so hard with his... It can't even be described. The opportunity missed here. So good. It could have been so good. Kylo Ren. There's nothing I like about this character as he exists. Nothing. He makes zero sense. I don't understand why he's dark side. The son of Han Solo and Leia. Why? So this is a story that had to be told. If you were going to do this, you have to tell the story. What do we get? What do we get here? We get a 15-20 second blip of Luke considering killing Kylo Ren because he senses or realizes he's moving toward the dark side. That's what we get. Again, this should have been a film unto itself. How do they get to this point? You've got this amazing moment that happens. It's one of those pinnacle moments for both characters, for Luke and Kylo. It could represent the biggest failure in Luke's life and this turning point for Kylo, that where he fully decides to embrace the dark side, and we get nothing. Disney, what the fuck are you doing? How do you not recognize how I'm just a guy who loves film, and it's plain as day the opportunities you had here. They were right in front of you. How do you miss this? How do you not understand the potential that was there? I want to see this story unfold. I want to see it from the beginning. I want to know how it got to that point. I don't want just this sliver of a moment that I have no context for. Complete and utter failure. So there is a Disney Star Wars trilogy that I would have happily embraced. And this is in hindsight, right? This is based on the ideas that were there. They were right in front of them. It's not like that I'm just pulling this out of nowhere. This is based on the ideas, the great foundational ideas that existed. And before, just to start things off, the First Order, it makes no sense that they were 30 years after The Last Jedi, that the First Order was the power that it was. It doesn't make any, it's complete and utter nonsense. It should have been a fledgling movement that was just getting started in the first film, that was just starting to get momentum. That's for starters. I mean, everyone, it is absolutely ludicrous to think that this thing could have been as big as it was in that time frame. So, just as a backdrop to the whole thing, the First Order should have just been getting legs beneath it, okay, with the first film. And then the first film, I think, should have been Finn, Stormtrooper Origins, and Escape, right? Juxtaposed with Rey Origins. So in the first film, you tell the complete story of Finn and his childhood and how he became a Stormtrooper and his training and how he broke away from that and escaped it. Because this is so huge. It's such an interesting, fantastic addition to canon. It could be if it was done right. I want to see that story fully realized. And you juxtapose it with, Rey being orphaned and her having to survive on her own and being isolated. Incredible first film. Second film, you've got the Kylo Ren Luke backstory juxtaposed with Rey and Luke training. Now, there's going to be some time warp here in this one. And this is just a loose this is just me throwing something out there that I feel could have worked so much better. But if you have, I want to see the Kylo Ren journey. I want to see how it got to that moment between Kylo Ren and Luke. That has to be fleshed out. It could have been so cool. And just the idea of Luke Skywalker training a school of Jedi. What an opportunity. What if we want to see that? How could we have not been shown this? It was right in front of them, and it's not in the it's so painful, and then to juxtapose what happened with Kylo and Luke, juxtaposing that with Luke finding redemption in training Rey, Luke becoming the Yoda figure to Rey, bringing that full circle for that. What a beautiful thing that could have been. It should have been epic. It should have been beautiful. And it was, again, right there, right at their fingertips. They had it. It's right in front of them. How do the creative talent and everyone involved in this not see what they had? The opportunities that they had were so clear to me. And this is just one direction, but it was all clearly right there. In the final film, you have Luke and Rey, of course, and versus Kylo Ren and the First Order, which at this point would have been, becoming an actual threat. It would have grown through the first, second, and third films, and now it's becoming an actual threat. And then it's Luke and Rey fighting against this threat and trying to win Kylo Ren back. Right? And maybe that happens. This isn't about coming up with a definitive concept here. It's just, this is what could have been. It could have been something so monumental. It could have added to the Star Wars legacy. It could have been, we could be now just in love with this franchise all over again. It could be the phenomenon that it was. But Disney failed to see the opportunities. It didn't even recognize the great ideas that were right under its nose. Threw every single one of them away. It's so devastating as a fan to have experienced this and to not, to not even have that love anymore for it, even knowing what it is now, that it's been dragged through the muck, that the characters I love and the stories that I love have been so humiliated. It's a terrible thing. And Disney, I don't think there's any fixing the Disney film Star Wars franchise. I don't think Disney will even entertain the idea of another film after Rise of Skywalker until at least 2025. It'll be Disney Plus only. They've run it into the ground. It's an embarrassment at this point. And the only salvation for Star Wars, which I don't think can ever happen, is that Lucasfilm gets purchased by some other entity again. It's not going to be Lucas is done. But if it gets sold to another entity that can say, just erase this new Skywalker trilogy, just completely throw it in the garbage, and start again. Because with this trilogy in existence in the Star Wars canon, Star Wars is dead. It has been destroyed. All right. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you.